Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Let's resume our discussion about Microsoft Word. So, in our last lecture, we were talking about using styles. Okay, so in your home, on your home tab, these are different tabs. Like this is the user interface of Microsoft Word. And this is the title bar. This is the menu bar. Here you can find all these menus. Okay, and in fact all these menus, like, they take you to a ribbon. So this is one ribbon, the home ribbon, on which there are different commands. Each of these, these buttons that you see now, this is called a toolbar. This is a toolbar. Okay, a toolbar has different buttons, and each button is basically a command button. If you press that button, then something happens. You basically, by pressing that button, you issue a command to Microsoft Word. Now this is one toolbar, and this is, say, another toolbar, and this toolbar appears on this ribbon. So this whole thing here is called a ribbon. Okay, this whole thing here is called a ribbon. It has different groups of commands, and those groups of commands have a couple of toolbars, as you can see. Okay, so this group of commands is related to the clipboard. We talked about the clipboard, that it is a temporary storage area in your RAM. Whenever you copy something or cut something, it goes into your clipboard. And clipboard is a system-wide area, like it is accessible through your operating system. So you can access whatever you copy onto the clipboard, you can access that in any other application. This group of commands handles or deals with the font. So if you want to change, this is the font. Okay, so the text that you see, the way it is written, this is the font. Now it has some size, it has a font type, it has a font color. So it is black, it has its size is 18 points, its type is Arial. You can change all that. You can go to the font menu and you can change all that. Okay, this group of commands deals with the paragraph. Okay, this deals with the paragraph. So this is a group of commands, and all these commands, they deal with the paragraph. We have gone through most of these commands, and I hope you remember that. So these are these two toolbars. Okay, so this is one toolbar, this is another toolbar. Similarly, this group of commands, this is related to styles. Now styles are very important and very useful. Okay, so what do we mean by styles? Now styles, they let you define different types of styles that you can use in your document. Okay, so in your document, whenever you want to write a document or write a report or anything like that, in there you might want to use different types of styles for different types of text. For example, if you have a chapter heading, so you want the chapter heading to look a bit different. Okay, you want to use a bigger font size. The font size you might want to use, you might want to make that font bold or something like that. Similarly, if you have a section heading like this heading, so you want the section heading to appear differently. You want the section head to appear differently, so you can define another style for the section heading. And similarly, you might have subsections. For example, this is the chapter heading, this is the section heading, and in this section, or say in another section here, so here we have a section on pattern recognition, and inside pattern recognition we have a subsection that is part of this section, that deals with part of a specific type of pattern recognition. So you might want to have this text in a different style. And similarly, the normal text in which you basically write most of your text in the document, you want that to look different, to have a different style. Okay. Now the benefit of style is that you can specify these styles, and we learned how to specify these styles. Okay. In our last lecture, we learned how you can modify these styles. So how do you modify a style? We have modified heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. Let's create heading 4, say, for example. So if you want to modify a style, all you need to do is right click on that style, and let me first check what is the font size of heading 4. It is 16. Okay, so all you need to do is right click on that style and click modify. So here you can modify the style. Okay, So its name is heading 4. We don't want it to be okay. So Times News Roman is fine. Let us increase its font size. Let us make it 14, and let us make it just bold and no italic, or let us make it just italic and no bold. uh, its alignment should be left justified, and let us make it have 1.5 line spacing. Okay, so all the changes that you make, those changes would appear here. Okay, so this is how it appears. Like, you can see that here. I guess this is fine. So this is how you modify a style. Okay, this is how you modify a style. Now if you want some text to have this style, you can do that. Okay, supervised learning, unsupervised learning, open CV. Let us say we want this to be let us create another heading. Okay, so let us create another heading. These are, let us say, the machine learning libraries. Machine learning libraries. Okay, although it should be a level 1 heading, heading 2, but let us make it heading 3, and let us make these as heading 4, OpenCV and Python. Okay, so this is how you apply styles. First you define a style, and then you apply the style to different parts of your document. Okay, that is what you do. Okay, now I'll tell you about the benefit of doing that. Like, this comes with plenty of benefits. Now you see, like, uh, here there is plenty of text. We don't know what it is. If you press the show height button, it will tell you that there are plenty of space characters here, which shouldn't be, and there are plenty of new line characters. I am removing those new line characters. And then again there are plenty of space characters, and then there is the page break character. And let us take the page break upstairs. Okay, so we want a new chapter to start from a new page. Okay, let me press this button again. Okay, so if you remember, we defined these styles, and then I applied the style to certain headings, but I did not apply to all the headings. We'll complete that. Like, we'll apply these styles to different types of headings that we have. Again, we have this thing is here. It should not be that far away. Let me remove these new line characters. Okay, and then there are these space characters. You don't need to insert so many space characters to bring something in the middle of the line. If you want the chapter heading to chapter to appear in the middle of the page, so all you can do is change its alignment. Okay, so make its alignment centered, and then it will appear there. And we can insert a page break here. uh, that will that will ensure that the new chapter starts from the beginning of a new page. Okay, let me bring it upstairs. Okay, so we said that now the student who worked on this document, he wanted the chapter to appear in the center, and in order to do that, he used plenty of space characters. Now you don't need to do that. Okay, if you want the chapter to appear in the center, so all you need to do is modify the style, the heading 1 style. Now let us go to heading 1 style, right click on it, and press modify, and let us press center, so it will be aligned in the center. All heading ones, they will move to the center. See, all heading ones have moved to the center. Okay, so this is the benefit of using styles. If you want to change something about it, for example, you don't like this font, you don't like Palatino linotype. So instead of selecting all these paragraphs and then changing their font styles, all you can do is you go to the normal style, you press modify, and you convert it to Times New Roman. Okay, so everything is converted back into Times New Roman, all the text in all the paragraphs. Okay, this would happen automatically. Okay. Okay. Now let us again press this show height button. We don't want to see these all the time. We press it or we show these things when we want to see like why is there so much spacing that shouldn't be otherwise. I don't know, like we numbered them. Let us number them again. Uh, Numbered them, and then we said that this should be a subheading. Okay, image resizing and color removal, and you do it by pressing the tab key. Okay, you do it by pressing the tab key, and again it's font size and that is different. Okay, so why is it different? Let us apply the normal. If you make it normal, uh, things change. Okay, so let us modify it directly manually without touching the normal, and you increase its line spacing by 1.5 so that it looks like the other text. And again, let us press the tab key and let us make things like that. Okay, so this is methodology stepwise. This is it should be heading number 2. No, it should be heading number 3. This is the methodology and it is a sub step. This should also heading number 3. Again, you should not be writing down step 1. It doesn't look nice. Just image input, image pre-processing. Again, this has nothing to do with Microsoft Word. This is a general tip about writing something. You don't write things like step 1 and step 2 in headings. Okay, usually that isn't something that we do. And then this is also heading 3 correct, and this is also, this should be heading 3. Okay, flow chart, should it be heading 2 or heading 3? Let us make it heading 3. Okay, this is a flow chart. Again, flow chart doesn't look like a nice heading, but this is heading 2, dependencies, algorithm, heading 3. Okay, so why are we going through all this? I just want to show you that once you decide on a style, or once you specify the style, then you apply that style to your entire document. Okay, that is what you do. Okay, so I guess we do not have any headings left. I just want the references to appear on the new page. So how can we do that? We need to remove these extra uh, characters that we don't need, the new line characters, and just insert a page break. So references would move to a new page. Okay, so references would start from a new page. Okay, fine. Okay, so we have again we want the abstract to appear to start from a new page. So let us insert a page break here. Okay. Insert a page break. Okay, so abstract begins from a new page, and we don't need these extra new line characters. Okay. Okay, so whenever you make changes into your document, remember to save those changes. You can save those changes by pressing the save button, or you can save those changes by pressing the control plus S key. Okay, control and then S. Control plus S. Remember this shortcut. It's a very useful shortcut. It will save you a lot of time and effort, because here we don't have a very reliable power grid, and power can go down and you may not be using a laptop, you may be using a desktop, and then things can get a little messy. Okay, so why do we need to use these headings? So one of the benefits is that it makes formatting your document very easy. So all you need to do is define these different styles and then apply the appropriate style to the appropriate text, and the text will be formatted like that. Okay, so it makes formatting a lot easier. The second benefit is that it lets you create table of contents and things like these very easily. So for example, this is your document that you've created, and now you want to create automatically, you want to create a table of contents for your document. Okay, so we want a table of contents. Okay, so how can we create that table of contents? So let us insert a new page. In order to do that, let us insert a blank page. Okay, so we said insert a blank page, and a blank page has been inserted. Okay, so here we are. This is a blank page, and in this blank on this blank page, what happened there? Oh, okay, let me see what is going on. Okay, so we inserted a blank page here. Here, let us do that again. Okay, let us insert a blank page. A blank page has been inserted. uh, let me write here, this is going to be a table of contents. Okay, so here we want to create a table of contents, and let's say that the table of contents should also look like heading number 2. Okay, or heading number 1, say. Let us make it look big and at the center. So now we want to insert a table of contents here. We want to insert a table of contents here. So how can you do that? So you have the insert tab, and in the insert tab you can do plenty of interesting things, but I guess inserting a table of contents is not one of those things that you can do on this menu. Let us go to references. Okay. So in the references, so references deals with things like table of contents, table of figures, and table of tables. And then when you are working on technical reports, you want to and you are referring to the reports or work of other people, you want to have a section on references and all that. So it helps you do work on that as well. So right now we want to insert a table of contents. Okay, so just click on this thing, insert table of contents. Okay, or you can go for the different options. Okay, so let us say let's say we want to insert a table of contents. Click on this thing, and then you can choose among the different styles available to you. And if you see in the contents, there is this heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. You can see that heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. Okay, so it basically shows you like the table of contents is created based upon the styles that you have been using. Okay, so let us go with this first table of with the first one. Okay, when you click on that, so Microsoft Word will automatically create a table of contents, and you don't need to provide this heading. Okay, if this heading is there, you can get rid of this one and just write this as okay, let's write it as table of contents. Okay, so the table of contents is it basically uh, like it is automatically created. Word automatically creates it for you. And how does Microsoft Word create it? It looks for the different styles that you have been using. It finds all the heading 1s, all the heading 2s, all the heading 3s, and then it locates their page numbers. So based upon these different styles, these different heading styles that you have been using, it creates a table of contents for you. Okay. Now you can change the style of the table of contents by clicking here. Like you can select a different style. So say this was table of content. This was just contents, and then you say we want to have this one, table of contents. So we can have this one. Then you have this other button, update table. So you might make changes into your document, and that may change the page numbering. Okay, so say for example, right now chapter number 1, heading introduction starts at, let us say unsupervised classification. It is at page number 5 right now. Okay, so let us go to the table of contents. This is unsupervised classification. If you want to go to that heading, if you want to read about unsupervised classification, all you need to do is press the control key and click. When you press the control key, the mouse pointer, it changes. It turns into an arrow. Okay, so now the text below, it turns into a hyperlink. So you can press this text and you can go to page number 5. Okay, so let us do that. So I have pressed the control key and now I'm clicking on this link. So it takes me directly to unsupervised classification. Okay, so here we are. You can read it and then you can go back. Okay, so let us change it. Let us add, I just pressed the enter key once, and unsupervised classification moves to page number 6 now. Okay, so now the table of contents, it needs to be updated. Okay, so now unsupervised classification is no longer at page number 5. Okay, so how can you update it? So click on the table of contents and then say update table. Okay, so what do you want to update? Update entire table. If you have added new headings, then you should update the entire table. If you've just changed, if you've done something like added text or something like that, and that has only affected the page numbers, then all you need to do is update the page numbers only. So let us update page numbers only. And it will update the page numbers, and now unsupervised classification appears at page number 6. Okay, so you can press the control key and click on this link and it will take you to page number 6. Okay, so this is the benefit of using headings. This is one of the other benefit of using headings. It allows you to easily create table of contents, things like these. Okay, now the next thing that I want to talk about is figures. Okay, so there are plenty of figures in this document, and every figure and every table that you might use, it needs to have a figure caption. Okay, so figure caption basically tells you what is that figure all about. What is that figure all about? Okay, so we have these figure captions. How can you add a figure caption to a figure? Okay, so this is the figure that you have and you want to add a caption to it. So you should right click on this on this figure. Right click on this figure. Whenever you right click on something, a menu appears, and that menu is context sensitive. Context sensitive means it depends upon where you click. If you click on the figure, you will get a different menu. If you click on the text, say here, you will click, get a different menu. So the context matters. This menu is context sensitive method. Okay, so we clicked on this text, and we get a different menu, and we right clicked on the text, we get a different menu, and when we right click on the figure, we get a different menu. So here you can choose to insert a caption. Okay, so insert caption. So it basically tells you, it shows you this caption menu. Here you can specify a caption for this figure, and you can choose the label. So here the label is figure 1. You can choose the label to be table if it is a table, or an equation if it is an equation. You can specify the position for this label. Should it be above the image or below the image? So remember, always remember, captions for images are always below the images, and captions for tables are always above the tables. Okay, mostly this is what happens. Okay, you can create a new label as well. If you want to define your own label, you can create that label as well, but let us go with this label figure 1. So what do you want this caption to be? So we want this caption to be like it's already written here. Let us copy that. So this is specified facial expressions. Okay, so 1 is disgust, 2 is fear, 3 is joy. I'm not being careful about different things that I should be, but we just want to show you how can you add these figure captions. Okay, so that is the most important thing that you should be paying attention to. And then sad, and then 6, anger. Okay, okay, so when you do that and press OK, so the figure caption appears right below it. We can get rid of this old caption. Okay, let us get rid of it. Okay, so this is the caption for figure 1. Now if you click on the caption, uh, its style is its style is caption, this one. If you want to change this style, you can do that. Okay, so say for example we want the caption to be center aligned, you can do that. So we want the caption to be center aligned, you can do that. Okay, why didn't it change? Let us check. Okay, okay, it should update itself, but it's not doing that. Let's see. Why? Okay, so we clicked on the caption style again and then it updated itself. Otherwise it should have done it automatically, but in any case no problem. So you can add figure captions to the figures below, to the other figures in this document, like that. And like, how do you do that? You right click on the figure and you say insert caption, and then you can insert the caption: happy, sad, fear, anger, surprise, and disgust. Okay, so let us do that. Let us apply that style again. Okay, let me get rid of this thing. Okay, so this is figure 2. Okay, similarly I'm going to label caption another figure, and then I'll show you something. Okay, so this is another figure. Let's right click on it and press insert caption, and let us give it a caption: FER 2013 sample images. Okay, and let us do that. Okay, you might want this figure to be centrally aligned as well. If you want to change the alignment and the way text behaves around this figure, so you can click on the figure, and then you can select picture format, and here like you can do plenty of things with the picture. Okay, so you can add these uh, borders like these. If you think that that is appropriate, you can do that. You can uh, fix the color. You can turn it into black and white, or say for example I turn it to black and white. It doesn't look nice. Or you can do all these things, like you can explore these different options that you have. uh, what I want to talk about is two things. One, how text behaves around this figure, like how should this figure and the text behave with each other. So one is, right now it is in line with text. Okay, so in line with text means that the text is more or less like below and above this thing. You can make it square. Square means that the text can appear on both sides of this figure, and then you can make that tighter. Text would be closer to the image. You can make it through, like the text can appear below or above this image. You can make it top and bottom. In your reports and documents, formal reports and documents, this is what you should use: top and bottom. So the text should be above the image and below the image. It should not be to its sides, or it should not be through it, something like that. Okay, so you should know about this thing. The second thing is alignment. So we want it to be aligned center. So you can click on that and you can change its alignment and make it center. And then the position. Again, this position, like you can change the position of the image to the beginning of the page, uh, uh, to the top center, to the right center, and all these things, but we don't want to do that. Okay, right now we want it to be here. Okay, so this is how you can change the format of the picture. Now we have captioned three figures, and I guess this is enough. Now we want to add another table. Okay, so let's add another table. Let us insert a blank page. Okay, so we have inserted a blank page. Where is it? Okay, here it is. Okay. Okay, let me do that again. Okay, so let us insert a blank page. So here we have a blank page, and now let us go to references. So here in the references we want to basically insert a table of figures. So in any document, in any book or any technical report or any technical document that you might come across, so there's always this table of contents and table of figures and table of tables at the very beginning. So if you want to look at a particular figure, and so you can go, you can browse through that that report or document very easily. So let us insert a table of figures. So all you need to do is click here. So when you click here, so this will basically give you these options. Okay. So this is the preview of your table, and these are the options that you can choose. For example, show page numbers. If you want the page numbers to appear in the table, you can check this or you can uncheck it. So then page numbers won't appear. But that is the benefit of it, that you should have page numbers so that you can go to a particular page. Right aligned page numbers. The page numbers are right aligned. This looks nice. If you don't want that, they will appear right after the figure caption. Okay. So we want them to be right aligned. And then tab leader, these dots that you see, these are specified by tab leader. You can change it. You can change it into these hyphens or something like this, straight line, or maybe, or you can have none. Okay. So let's go with the default. And then caption labels. So what are the labels of those captions? Okay. So do you want to include label and number, both of them? If you want to do that, you can have the label and number included in the table. Otherwise, you can uncheck this option. And caption label is figure. If you want to create a table of tables, then you can select table. If you want to create a table of equations, you can select uh, equation here. Okay. So right now we want to create a table of figures. So let us do that. Table of figures, and we choose the caption label to be figure. Okay. Use hyperlinks instead of page numbers. This is web preview. This is for the web. If you want this document to be stored in HTML format, and then you want it to be, how do you want it to be? So let us leave this option unchanged. Let us go with whatever we have by default. So press OK, and then you will have a table of figures. So we caption these three figures as figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, and we have this table generated automatically. Okay. You can add, you can press enter, and then you can say this is our table of figures. Table of figures. Okay. And let us label it as this thing. Okay. And you can update the table of contents as well, because now the table of figures might also appear in this table. So we have the table of figures and abstract and all these things. Now what should go into the table of contents and what shouldn't go, that is a matter of another discussion, but here we are not into that. here I just want to show you how you can use these different tools that Word has to offer to you, and how you can like do all these things. Okay, I showed you how to caption figures, but I didn't show you how to insert figures or how to insert images into your document. So we'll insert a dummy image. Let us do that here. This is so if you want to insert anything into your document, so you can go to insert menu and you can select that. So right now we want to insert a picture, any picture. Okay, you can also insert shapes, create a smart art graphic. I would let you to explore these by yourself. You can also insert a chart. I will teach you how to create a chart using Microsoft Excel, and then maybe you can insert that. But right now, let's stick with pictures. So where do you want the picture to come from? This device. Okay, so we want the picture to come from this device. So let's go to this device and let us explore some figures. So say for example this is motherboard. So we want to insert this figure. Okay, so this is quite it's a sizable figure. So let us let us modify, let us like do something about it. So first of all, I want this figure to be small. There is plenty of this white area. I need to crop it. Okay, so let us crop the top, and see, now it has moved to the page above. Let us crop something from here, and from this would basically reduce the size of the image and the size of your file. Okay, so it would reduce both. Okay, so if you're done cropping your image, then click outside the image. Now this is fine. Do you want to resize it? Yes, it looks a little big. Let us resize it. So let me resize it. Okay, we have resized it, and let us change its alignment. Okay, so let us make it aligned to center. Right now we cannot do that. Why? Let us change the where text wraps around it, so make it top and bottom, and now let us align it center. Okay, and let us add a caption. Insert caption. Okay, so this is figure 4. If you see, like, the caption the figure caption, the number is automatically updated. Okay, so it is basically a computer's motherboard. Okay, and let us insert it below the item. Fine. Okay, now let us update our it must have affected our table of figures and table of contents, so let us update those. uh, let's go to the table of figures first. Okay, so let us right click on it and let us say update. Okay, so if you don't see that option directly here, like in the table of contents, when you click on the table of contents, you clearly get the option, like you get the option directly. This is the table of contents. If I click here, so I have this option update table. Okay, so I can choose update entire table, so it happens almost like automatically, easily. In the case of table of figures, we don't get that option. Like it's not apparent. So don't be afraid, like just click on the table, so you're here, and then right click, and here you choose the option update field. Okay, so what is the field? Just forget about it for the moment. Just say update field, and it will ask you, should we update? So update table of figures, this you get this menu, and it's asking you, should we update page numbers only, or should we update the entire table? So we have added a new figure, so we want the entire table to be updated. So, okay, so it has been updated, and the new figure appears in this table. Okay. Okay, so this is how you insert a new figure and then update the table of figures accordingly. Now let's do something else. I want you to insert, we want to learn how to insert a table. Okay. In fact, there is a table here, table 1. So let us caption this table. This is table 1. Okay, so let us click this table and in fact right click on it. So then we can say insert caption. So this is a table. Okay, this is a table and we want it to be above selected item. Yes, and this table basically shows the Gantt chart. Now a chart should never appear in a table. Okay, but somehow it has been done, so let's go with it. So this is table 1 Gantt chart. Just get rid of this heading. Now let us add another table. Now you have to be careful with the tables. Something like this can happen. Half your table can appear on one page and the other half on the other. So you should be very careful about it. Okay, so let us insert another table. So if you want to insert or create your own table, how can you do that? So you can do that by doing this. So you can say insert table. You can go to the insert menu and then select table. And here you can select draw the table. Like you can select how many rows and columns should it have. So you can do that. Okay. So say I want a table with 3 or 4 columns, and then I want to have 4 rows. Okay. So usually these are your headers. Here you say serial number, and there you can say training data set, testing data set. For example, these are just arbitrary labels that I'm using. And then this is say accuracy. Okay. So training dataset size and testing dataset size. Okay. So serial number 1, say we looked at 3 scenarios, 1, 2, 3. In the first, the training dataset size was 100. Here 200. Here say 300. We want to see what is the impact of that on accuracy. And the testing dataset size was 30. Here it was 60. Sorry, 60, and here it was say 90, and say the accuracy improves with increasing training data set size. Okay, this is what we want to prove, 90%, and this is say 99%, say for example. Okay, so this is a table that we wanted to create. So we have created this table. Now you can format, you can choose a style for this table. Okay, so whenever you create a table, you automatically get this option of different styles. So you can apply any of these styles. For example, you want to apply this style. Okay, so the table would be formatted according to that style. Okay, you can use other styles as well. For example, you have this style available to you. This is also a nice style, or you can use some other style, say for example this one. Okay, so this is also a very nice style. So you can choose among those styles and you can apply those styles to you, or you can modify it directly. You can also choose this style, say for example. So you have all these options available to you, and then you can also explore like it further. You can do plenty of other interesting things with it, like you can do the shading and all these things automatically by yourself. So just go about this menu and just see what things can you do and what you can do. Okay, let us add a caption to it. This is table 2, and this is the this table is about the impact of training data set size on accuracy. Okay, so this is what we want to talk about, above and all that. Okay, so this is fine. So this is, now it may be a little confusing. You might want to choose another style. Say for example, let us go with this style. Okay, it will add color to it as well. So let us go with this style. Okay, so now we have two tables, and I just want to show you, like I want to add a table of tables to our report as well. Okay, so let us insert a blank page. Here we are, and we want to have a table of tables. Okay, or a list of tables. You can name it. If table of tables sounds odd, you can have a list of tables. You can have a list of tables. Okay, So let's have a list of tables. Let us make it style heading 1. Okay, and let us come here. Okay, so we want to have a table here. Let's go back to the references menu. Let's select insert table of figures, and here select the label as table. It's automatically directly it has been uh, selected. Okay, so we already have a table of figures. Maybe Microsoft Word already knows that. Okay, so let's do it. Mm, so we have two tables here, and we have a nice looking list of tables. So up until now, I guess you have learned enough of Word that will allow you to create a very decent and professional looking report, a document, and this is how you should be doing it. Okay, so you should be using styles and formatting extensively. You should be defining styles and use those styles accordingly. You should be inserting images properly. You should give them proper captions. You should be using proper captions for tables and all that. Okay, so there is plenty of things that you can do with that. Next thing that I want to talk about is page numbering. Here you can see there is already the pages are numbered. Let's see how you do that. So if you want to number pages, you can go to the insert menu and you can select page number, insert page number. You can come here, header and footer. So header is basically the top of your document, footer is basically the bottom of your page. Okay, the top of the page header, the bottom of the page footer. So numbers, they usually appear either at the top or at the bottom. So that's why they appear in this header and footer group. Okay, so we want to insert page numbers. They already we have page numbers. So I just want to show it how, if you didn't have these page numbers, how would you do it? So this is how you do it. You go to the insert menu, you start here, then you go to the header and footer group of commands, and then you select page number. Okay, if you click here, you get different options. You can insert a page number at the top of the page. Okay, and you have different options. You can explore all these options, simple and this and that. Okay, say for example, we want to insert it at the top of the page, so you can do that. Okay, you can have page numbers at the bottom of the page. Right now we have page numbers at the bottom of the page, something like this. Let us go a little fancy. For example, we want to have some fancy page numbering, page 0 like this, or maybe like this. Okay, so let us select this one, say for example. So now the page numbering would change to something like this, page and then 4. So this is your footer. This is the bottom of the page, footer. Okay, so the bottom of the page, the footer basically repeats on every page. It repeats on every page. So here you can insert other things as well. Here the page number appears, and you can also insert other things as well. Okay, so you can close it, or you can do different things about it. This is the footer. If you want to edit it, you can edit it. Okay, so you will be brought here, and now you can add something of your own. You can write something here. I'm not writing anything. Instead, I'll go to the header. Okay, I want to go to the header and change the header. So in the header, say for example, I want to write something. What do I want to write? Say I want to write the title of this report. I want the title of this report to appear on every page. Okay, so and I want it to appear on the right side. Okay, so this is basically emotion recognition. Emotion recognition. Okay, using machine learning. This is what I want to appear on each and every page. Okay, so we are done. Go to the header and footer menu, and uh, you can, what can you do? There are plenty of other things that you can put in here. You can put in the date and time. You can put information about the document and things like these. Okay, so you can explore these, right? I'm just giving you a window onto what header and footer can do for you. You can explore these things. Just close header and footer, and this thing, this text, emotion recognition using machine learning, this will appear on each and every page. Okay, so this is the report's name, and the page numbering we have changed it. Okay. Okay, so we talked about inserting page numbering and editing header and footer. We didn't edit the footer, but we did edit the header. Okay, so you can do that for both of them. What else do I want to talk about? The other thing that I want to talk about is okay, we are done with header and footer. The other thing that I want to talk about is uh, you might want to basically print this document. Okay, so you need to be aware of the different options that you can have in printing. So if you want to print this document, you just need to go to File menu and select Print. Okay, but before you select Print, you need to you need to be aware of certain things. So let's go to the Layout menu. Okay, so in the Layout menu, you can decide on different things. First, you can decide on the size of the paper on which you want to print this document. So you can select the size. By default, the size is letter, US letter size. Okay, letter size. It is close to A4. It is a bit smaller than A4, but it is close to A4. A4 pages, I'm sure you must have used A4 pages. So set it to A4. Okay, by default it's not A4, so it's the page size is US letter size, and when you change it to A4, plenty of things may change. Okay, so that is why you should be very careful about the page size. The print may not look as the document on the screen, so you should know why doesn't it look like that. So if that is the case, you should check the page size. Okay, so first you need to select the size. Next is orientation. So right now the orientation of this document is portrait. Okay, so you know what a portrait is. So when you must have seen paintings that are vertical, drawn vertically, and then there are some paintings that are drawn horizontally. Okay, so horizontal is a landscape. So landscapes are drawn horizontally. So if I change its orientation to landscape, so then like it would be like if we are writing along the breadth of the document. Okay, sorry, along the length of the document. Okay, so this is how it would look like. Let me show you uh, the print preview. So this is how it would look like. Okay, so now the page is would look something like this. In fact, let us make it smaller. So this is how the page would look like. Okay, this is how uh, all all your pages would look like. Okay, so if we change the orientation to portrait, so then it looks like normal. Okay, so these are pages 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so this is uh, portrait orientation, and that was landscape orientation. So you need to be aware of this. So by default the orientation is portrait, and let it be portrait unless and until there is a specific need to change this orientation. Next thing is margins. Margins is basically the free space. If we go to the print preview, so this is your document, and on the document the printing starts, or the writing or the text starts not exactly from the edge of the paper. So between the edge of the paper and between the position uh, uh, from where your text actually starts, there is an empty space. This empty space is called a margin. So this space on the left side, it is the left margin. Then there must be some space on the right, that is the right margin, top margin, bottom margin. Okay, so you can specify these margins here. So by default you have 1 inch margin on the top, left, bottom, right. You can decrease that. You can take it to half an inch if you want more text to appear on your pages, or you can make it moderate or wide if you want the text to appear, like to have you can have plenty of space on the left and right, so you can go with those margins as well. In that case, this is how your document would look. So now you have more space on the margins. Okay, so it may be required in certain situations, and in certain situations it may not be required. So what you need to do is just stick with the normal margins. or you can have margins specified. For example, if you're writing your thesis, then your semester coordinator or project coordinator might ask you or give you some formatting guidelines that this is how the size of the margins should be. Okay, so once you have done all these things, then you can print your document. Okay, so once if you want to print it, you just need to press this print button. You can specify the number of copies that you want to have, and you can specify if you want the document to be printed on one side or printed on both sides. Okay, you can specify how many pages uh, how many pages of this document are going to be printed on a single sheet of paper. So right now it is 1 page per sheet. You can change that. You can print 4 pages on a sheet or 6 pages on a sheet. Of course they will look very small, but nevertheless you can do that. Okay, and you can choose this option, collated or not collated. If you want to have multiple copies, so how do you want those copies to be arranged? Like one complete copy, then another complete copy, then another complete copy. This is called collated. And if you go for uncollated, so you will have 3 copies or 4 copies or 10 copies of page 1, then 10 copies of page 2, then 10 copies of page 3. That is uncollated. Okay. So all you need to do is like spend time using this software, and then hopefully you'll learn about it. Then there's another very important thing, like you can also in some cases you might be required to, if somebody wants to review your document. Okay, so you have written a report or document, and then you want to send this document to your teacher for review before taking out the final print. So you can add certain things. For example, you can add line numbers. Okay, so line numbers, say you want to have continuous line numbers. So all the lines in your document will be numbered continuously. Okay, so you can choose that. So now you have line numbers added to your document continuously. Okay, so your teacher, if he or she finds some mistake in your document, so he or she can say, okay, Mr. Falan, on page number 6 or in line number 6, you should not be using scan the image. Okay, you should be doing it. You should be saying something else. You can also change these line numbers. You can make them repeat on each page. Okay, you can do that. But you can add line numbers. Why? When do you add line numbers? You don't always add line numbers. You only add line numbers when you want your somebody to review your report. Okay, so that they can give you feedback. And when they give you feedback, they can tell you where is the problem by specifying the particular line number and page number. Okay, let us change that. Let us say none. We don't want any line numbers. Okay. Now the other thing that I want to talk about is this document. The text here is single column, and you can change the number of columns. For example, if you want the text to appear in double columns, 2 columns, you can do that. You can say appear in 2 columns. Okay, so the text that we selected, it appears in 2 columns. Okay, so ever wonder how do they do it for the newspapers? So this is how they do it for the newspapers. You can increase the number of columns. Okay, so let us make it 3. So now the text appears in 3 columns. And remember we talked about the basic philosophy of Microsoft Word, in fact Microsoft Office. And that philosophy is select then do. So we selected certain text and then we put it into as many columns as we wanted. So you can do that. This option is also available to you. Again, I will mention, I didn't mention it before, but this is not a thorough or complete introduction of Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word is a very complicated and very sophisticated and very extensive software. And there are plenty of things that you can do with Microsoft Word, and we cannot complete all of that in a single lecture. Okay, but I just wanted to introduce you to the most important features in my view that if you learn will help you write better reports in the course of your degree. Okay, so what I want to do next is I want to talk about Microsoft Excel. Again, Excel is a very important software. Microsoft Excel lets you deal with numbers. I'll show you how to work with numbers, use functions to do interesting things, and I'll also show you how to create a chart or a graph using Microsoft Excel. And that graph or chart, then you can import it into Word or any other Microsoft software or anywhere else, and you can use it. Okay, so we'll learn that much about Microsoft Excel, and after that we will turn to programming. Okay, so let us see. I want to know about the duration of this lecture. For how long have we been recording? So we have been recording for how long? 1 hour. So I guess we have time. In this same recording, we can talk about Microsoft Excel. So let's do that. Let's go to Microsoft Excel. So you can click on your Start menu, and then you can look for Microsoft Excel. So it's just Excel. Just click on it. When you click on it, then Excel would be launched. Now Excel is again a very powerful software. It is a spreadsheet. It is called a spreadsheet. Okay, so spreadsheet, if you translate it literally, so it means a sheet of paper that is spread on your table or something like that. And this sheet of paper has rows and columns, and at the intersection of a row and column we have cells. Okay, so again, if you look, when we started Word, we got a similar interface. Here also you get a similar interface. So let's create a blank workbook. In Word, you created documents. In Microsoft Excel, you create workbooks. Okay, so workbooks. I'm sure you're aware of the terminology. You might have used workbooks in your school. So in workbooks, you do work, you do practice. Okay, so we are creating. Let us create a blank workbook, and this blank workbook will have worksheets. This will have worksheet. So this worksheet is called sheet 1. So this is the interface that you get. And again, the look and the feel is similar to Microsoft Word. But here things are a little different. Now you have these rows numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they go on. You can have as many rows as you want, probably around 65,536. That is the number of rows that you could have at a certain point in time. I don't know how much is the limit right now, but you can have a lot of rows. And we have columns. The columns are numbered according using letters. Okay, so the columns are numbered using letters. So columns are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. And once you reach Z, then you start with A, B, A, C, A, D, A, E, A, F, and so on and so forth. This is how it goes. Okay. Okay. So this is a cell. Okay. This is a sheet, and this sheet has hundreds of thousands of cells. Okay. What is a cell? A cell is basically an intersection of a row and column. So this cell is the intersection of row number 2 and column B. How do you identify the cell? Its address. So every cell has an address. Okay, this cell's address is B2. This is B2. This is C2, D2, E2. This is E3, E4, E5, E6, E7, E8. Okay, so you move here. You can move using the up and down arrows on your keyboard, or you can move using your mouse. So you can do that. And the address here, it changes. So right now we are in cell number E12. In cell number E12. This is E3. This is A1. This is H4 column. So the column name comes first, and then the row followed by the row number. Okay. Now what is the purpose of Excel? Now Excel is supposed to work with numbers. Okay, Excel is supposed to work with numbers. It is very good at handling numbers and handling data. How? Let me show you. Okay, so for example, let us suppose we want to do something. What is that something? Say for example, we are going to deal with numbers, and using numbers we will basically operate on those numbers or process those numbers, and then we will try to create some graphs or charts, some interesting graphs or charts. Okay. Again, this is not going to be a very thorough introduction of Microsoft Excel, but I just want to show you a certain important things that you need to learn about it, so that you can start using it. Okay. So again, this is not a thorough or complete introduction. Again, Excel is a very extensive software, and there are plenty of different ways in which you can use Microsoft Excel, and people spend their lifetime using and learning it. Okay, so it's not something that you can learn in an hour or 2 hours, but definitely you can start, you can get started. So this is to give you a good start. I hope like I don't need to repeat or go through these groups of commands related to clipboard and font, and we don't have paragraphs here, but we do have cells, so you can modify the contents of cells, the alignment of the contents in cells, and all these things that you can do with cells. Then the format of the data, it's supposed to handle numbers, so it gives you different options to handle those numbers, so you can have this. So we will talk about it. Okay, so say the first thing that we want to do is we want to create a sine wave. We want to create one complete cycle of a sine wave or a cosine wave, something like that. This is what we want to do. Okay, so how do you create a sine wave? So first you need to have an angle, and then you need to have the sine of that angle and then the cosine of that angle. Okay, we are used to working with degrees. Okay, so let's say we have the angle is 0 degrees, then 1 degrees, then 2, 3, 4, 5. If we want to create a complete cycle, so we need to go from 0 to 360 degrees. Now, if we had to enter all those values manually, it would take a lot of time. So Excel is a very useful tool. It knows that you might need to do something like that, and it gives you tools to do that automatically or easily. Okay, so one thing you can do is you can right click and you can say uh, wait, let me see if I can do it here. Okay, insert, no, okay, fill series. I need to look for something to fill series. Okay, formulas. Search function. No. Okay, so let's do it the other way. So this is basically a cell, and if you look here, like this thing at the right bottom of the cell, we have this handle kind of thing. So you can get a hold of it, and then you can drag it. Okay, so if you drag it like that, so one would be copied. If you drag it like that, one would be continuously copied. Okay, we don't want that. We want 0, 1, then 2, 3, 4. Okay, so if you select these two cells, 0 and 1, okay, so see now you have a different screen tip here. Okay, so Microsoft Excel figures out that maybe you want to do something, okay, then just a simple copy. If you select this cell, nothing happens. Okay, and if you drag this thing, one would be copied to all the cells beneath. Okay, we don't want that. Control plus Z. If you select these two, then this thing changes. Now it has, Microsoft Excel has figured out that you want to do something. Okay, so if you now drag it, so now you're going to fill up a series. Now you will have 2 here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can go on. Okay, 16. Okay, we don't want that. We want to go up until 360. So one way is to drag it up until 360. Go and go up until 360. Okay, so let us stop at 360. Okay, 360. Okay, so we started from 0 and we went up until 360 degrees. This is one way. Okay, The second way is, let us undo it and then undo again. Let us click on this button. Let's say what this button says. So this button says that we need to do what? Conditional formatting? No. Charts? No. Totals? No. Let's see. Count? No. Tables? No. Spark lines? No. Okay. It's not that useful. In any case, let's go back and we could have redone it. Undo. Okay. Now redo won't make any sense. So let us redo it again. Go up until 360. Okay. So we started from 0 and we went up until 360 degrees. Okay. Now we need to find the sine of this angle. Okay. So in order to find the sine of this angle, we need to use a formula or a function. So Excel has a lot of built-in functions or formulas. Okay. So we need to calculate the sine of this angle. So first we need to specify a formula, or we need to use the sine function. How do you specify that? Now here, this is a value. This cell contains a value. So when we want a cell to have a value, we just put that value inside that cell. We don't do anything else. Okay. So this cell has 1, this has 2, this has 3. If you want this cell, now this cell, we want this cell to have the sine of 0. We want this cell to have the sine of 1, this cell to have the sine of 2, this cell to have the sine of 3, sine of 4, sine of 5. So how can you do it? So you need to insert a formula here. And in order to tell Microsoft Excel that you are going to insert a formula, you need to use the equal sign here. Okay, so you need to press equal. So when you press equal, now you are telling Microsoft Excel that I want a formula here that calculates the sine of an angle. Okay, so what is the formula for calculating the sine of an angle? It is sine, simple sine. Okay, so when you call the sine function, you have to give it the angle. So it should be some number. Where is that angle? That angle is here. Where? In cell D4. So you can either write D4, okay, so that cell is selected. See, it has been selected. Or you can directly select it. You can click here, D4. Okay, so D4, sine of D4. So sine of whatever value is in D4. So that it will calculate. And you see D4 is written simple as D4. Okay, nothing in between the D and 4 or before D or after 4, nothing like that. So all you need to do is then put the closing parenthesis and press enter. So this is sine of D4. Now sine is going to be a real valued number. It is going to be a fractional number. Okay, so we need to format it like that. We need to format it like that. Okay, so right now its format is general, but let us change it to a number. We want it to be a number. We want sine to be a number. Okay, now the sine function, you should know about the sine function. Okay, what is the sine function? Sine function basically calculates the sine, but it expects the angle to be in radians. It expects that this angle is going to be in radians. Okay, you can know about that by clicking on this number. Okay, help me appear. No, I don't want that. So sine of d4. Okay, you will learn about it. Now we don't want just the sine of 0 or d4. We want the sine of d2, d3, sorry, d4, d5, d6, d7, d8, d9. We want the sine of all these numbers. Now how can you do that? One way is to do this in every cell. You say sine and then sine of, press the opening parenthesis, sine of d5. Okay, and then sine of d6 and d7 and d8, all that. Okay, so this is one way of doing it. The other way is that we don't do that. Let's get rid of it. You simply copy this formula. Okay, so we take this formula and copy it into all the cells below it. Okay. So see, not only has that formula been copied, but the format has also been copied. So if you click here, now it says sine of d5, sine of d6, sine of d7, sine of d8, d9, d10, d11, d12. It has automatically been copied. And the addresses, like here it was sine of d4. Okay, we wrote d4, we selected d4. Here it has automatically been updated to d5. Okay, so how is that done? Now d4 and d5, like d4 and d5, these are something that we call relative addresses. Relative addresses. Okay, so what do we mean by relative addresses? Oh, I pressed the save button. Uh, let us save it first. Let us save it first. So I want to save it along with the other files. No, I don't want to share it. I want to save it. Where do I want to save it? So I want to save it uh, here in Introduction to Computing. So this is test book. Okay. Okay, so it has missing. Now D4 and D5, these are relative addresses. Okay, and a relative address is something that is relative, that changes, that can change. Okay, now there is another address called absolute address. Absolute address. Okay, so what is an absolute address? Now every cell, we said that this cell has an address. The address is the column name followed by the row number. So it is D4. This is E4. This is F4. This is D5, F5. The address of this cell is F5. This is G5. Now these addresses are relative addresses. Okay. Relative addresses, they are automatically updated in formulas. For example, this formula, it works on a relative address D4. When you copy this formula, when you copy this formula to this cell, so it will automatically update the address to D5. Okay. Why? Because now this formula is in F5. So it will automatically update the row number for the argument. So this D5 is the argument. It is the input to the sine function. Okay. So relative addresses, they are automatically updated. Okay. I hope you remember, like we did not have this thing. We uh, like initially it was nothing. We inserted only one formula, and that we did in this cell F4. So in F4 we use this formula sine of D4. Now D4 is a relative address. Okay, D4 is a relative address. When you use D4 and when you are using relative addressing, and when you copy this formula to another cell, how do we copy it? By doing this thing. So the relative address is automatically updated. Now D4 will be updated to D5 because this formula has been pasted into row number 5. Okay, F5. If you paste it to row number 6, it will be updated to D6. So this is how relative addressing works. Now the same cell, it can be accessed using an absolute address. This is how the absolute address works. $D $5. So this is just one cell, D4. D4 is just one cell, but it can have two addresses. One is relative address, the other is an absolute address. The relative address can be updated. If the formula which uses the relative address of D4, if that formula is pasted into another cell, so the relative address of D4 will be replaced by the relative address of the next cell that should be that makes intuitive sense that like it should be now like the contents of this cell should be accessed now. Okay, but absolute address, it is not changed. If you want the address not to be updated, even if that formula is copied into another cell, so you can use absolute address. Okay, So let me show you how does that work. So let me copy this address. So you see the relative address is updated. Whenever you copy the formula to a new cell, the relative address is updated so that the formula is calculated for the correct cell. Okay. Now, if you don't want to do that, there may be situations where you want the address not to be updated or modified. So you can go for absolute address. Say for example, if I go for absolute address, if I say $D $5, then this address will not be changed when I copy this formula to another cell. Let us verify that. So I said that we want to use the absolute address of the cell, okay? And I specified that by using these dollar symbols before D and before 4, $D $4. So by doing so, I specified that we don't want to use the absolute address, okay? We don't want to use the relative address. We want to use the absolute address. I want this cell, the value stored in this cell, to be used in every formula, okay? So when you do that, you have to use the absolute address of the cell. So when you do that, then whenever the formula is copied into another cell, the address is not updated. It remains the same, okay? So this is very important. You should know what is an absolute address and what is a relative address. A relative address is updated whenever a formula that is using the relative address of a cell, it is copied into a new cell. The relative address is updated so that the formula is evaluated for a correct cell. But an absolute address, it is not updated. Absolute address and relative address, these are both the addresses of cells. But absolute addresses are not updated when formulas are copied into new cells, but relative addresses are updated. Okay, so I hope you know that. We don't want to use absolute address here. We are fine with relative addresses. They are more useful for us. Okay, so let us use this relative address and to find the sine of all these angles. Now there's a problem with this. Okay, sine of 360 should be 0, but it is 0.96. Why? Because the sine function, it assumes that this is not an angle, but this is a radian. So you're calling it an angle, but the sine function does not know what are you calling it. It only takes this value and thinks that it is angle in radians, okay? And it calculates the sine of it. So now this clearly is not correct. So you need to convert this angle into radians. Okay, so how can you do that? You have a formula for that. You can use a formula for that. You can say, and by the way, you may not remember all the formulas. Okay, so you can go to formulas and you can insert a formula. Okay, insert function. You can say insert a function, and let us look at the sine function. So sine returns the sine of an angle. Okay, and the angle is in radians. It does not mention that, but the angle is in radians. You can search a particular category of function. For example, let us look at math and trigonometry. Okay, so in math and trigonometry, you might have a function. We might have function radians. Okay, so we have a function radians. Radians converts degrees to radians. So let us use that function. So when you say radians, it inserts this formula automatically, and here you can specify the angle in degrees. So how can you do that? You can directly put the address. You can say D4, okay? Or you can click here and find the cell which stores the value of angle in degrees, okay? Then you can go back and you can press OK. Okay, so now we have angle in degrees, and we find the radians, angle in radians here. And here we need to find the sine of angle in radians, not in degrees. So we need to update it. We need to make it E4, sorry. Okay. So now it is E4. We haven't copied it, so it's not updated. But first, let us copy this one. Radians should also be in numbers. We want it to be in numbers. And let us copy it. So we first find the angle in radians for all the angles in degrees. okay, and then we what we do is we update this formula. So sine of radians we want to find, not sine of degrees. So here it is sine of radians, it is correct, but below that it is sine of degrees, it is not correct. So we need to copy this formula here. Okay, so now we have all the correct values. Okay, so we have found the sine of all the degrees. We can also find the cos. For the cos, the function or formula that we can use is cos, and then you can specify the angle here. It is this one, radians. Okay, so you can reuse, like you can use the radians value for different functions, not just one function. And then you can copy this formula. And see here we have the format is general, so if you go and make it number, so you will have regular values. Now what we want to do is we want to create a plot of these values. We want to look how they would look on a graph. Okay, so we want to do that. How can you do that? So we want to create a plot of the angle in radians or degrees. You can do that. So we want to have angle in degrees on one side, and then we want to have the values of their sine and cosine. So select all these values of angle and then press the control key and then select the values of sine. Okay, so we want to plot these two values, these two vectors, you can say. So we have a vector of angles in degrees, and then we have a vector of the sine values of the angle. Okay, so we want to plot them. We want to plot them. How can you plot them? In order to plot them, you need to go to the insert menu, and then you can select, you have here a group of commands that says charts. So in charts, you can select a particular chart. If you don't know which one is which, so you can click on this menu and you will be taken to the charts menu. Okay, so see, we have been recommended a scatter plot. Okay, so you can select it. This is a line plot. A line plot, basically scatter plot, scatters prints all the points, just the points, and the line plot joins two consecutive points using a line, so it is smoother. Okay, so you can select any of these. This is a bar histogram. We don't want a histogram. Uh, these are recommended charts. You can go and look at all the charts that are available to you. So we want to look at this category, the line chart category. Okay, and here we want to have this particular type of chart, or you can go XY scatter plot. Okay, this one. Okay, so you have all these different types of charts. You can use any of them. So let us go with the line chart, and then let us select this thing. Okay, and let us press OK. So this chart would be inserted into your Excel sheet. This chart would be inserted into your Excel sheet. And here you can change different things about it. For example, if you look at your main menu, two more menus have been added. Okay, so two more tabs have been added. One is related to chart design, so you can select different design options for your chart. Like this, you can choose any of these. They're all interesting. Okay, so you can select any of these. Okay, so say for example we choose this one. You can choose any, it doesn't matter, or this one. So why does it look very thick? It looks very thick because we are using only two decimal places. Okay, so many of the values they overlap or fall very close to each other. So maybe that's why. You can change the title of this chart. Okay, so you can change it by double clicking on it, and then by selecting this text. So this is basically the sine wave. This is the sine wave. Okay, and you can change its position. Okay, let us close this thing. What else can you do? You can change the layout of the chart. There are different options available to you. You can choose to plot the values with it, but there are a lot of values. You should not be going for this option. I guess we will have this thing. This thing is fine, or maybe let me see this one. So we have axis title for both. So on the x-axis we have angle in degrees, and on the y-axis we have uh, sine of those angles, sine function. Okay, so this is what we have on the y-axis. So here, like, you can do plenty of things to it. Okay, if you're not happy with this design, you can change it. Let's see, what do we have in format menu. So it allows you to change the format of the chart area and all these different types of fonts and things like these. You can explore that. Okay, so what I wanted to show you was that you can use mm, Microsoft Excel to work with numbers. Okay, now let us change this thing as well. We want this precision to go a little up. Okay, 2 degrees is 2 decimal positions is not that precise, so let us use at least 4 decimal positions. Okay, so how can you do that? So it's numbers. Here you have these shortcuts: decrease decimal, increase decimal. So let us increase decimal. So I want to increase it for all of them. And if you see, when I increase the precision, the curve becomes smoother. Okay, because we have unique values. Okay, so let's say we have increased the precision. The other thing that you should note, like whenever you select something on in Microsoft Excel, so this is your status bar. On the status bar, you see some statistics for it. For example, the average value is printed here. The number of values or cells that you've selected, that is printed here. The sum of all these values, this is also printed here. Okay, so some things they are available to you here. Now you can use this chart in your reports. Okay, so if I want, for example, if I want to use this chart in my Word document, how can I do that? So you can simply copy it, okay, and go to your Word document, and here you can simply paste it. Okay, and paste, again, there is a simple paste and there is paste special. So if you look down, paste, you select paste special, you get different options. How do you want this image to appear here? So you can, this chart to appear here, you can paste it as a Microsoft Excel chart object, or you can paste this as an image of different types, one of these types. So say we want to paste it as a JPEG image, so you can do that. Okay, okay, we have pasted it, and this is how it looks. Okay, now if you want to change its size, you can do that. You can insert a caption into it, and you can do all those sorts of things with it. But the point that I wanted to make was that if you have data in your project or in your homework or assignment, and then you want to plot that data and show different types of plots to your, you want to include those in your report, You can do that using Microsoft Excel. You can do that very easily using Microsoft Excel. Similarly, you can have data in Microsoft Excel, and you might want to print that data. Okay, so here, say for example, I want to print this table. Now, one thing you should know is, although it looks like a table, we have these rows and columns, but when you print it, it will not look like a table. It will be these values with spaces and no lines, no rows, no separators between rows, and no separators between columns. And there is plenty of area, so what should be printed, that is also not clear. So if you say print preview, so you get this thing. Okay, and this is it spans over 17 pages. Okay, it spans over 17 pages. So you might not want that. You might want to limit that. For example, we just want this data to be printed. So let me make it bold and change alignment to center, and let me add these borders between rows and columns. Okay, so borders can be added from here, like you can go and choose these borders, and we want all borders, sorry, not just outside borders, we want all borders to appear. And let's say we only want this thing to be printed, we only want this area to be printed. Okay, so if you want a selected area of your Excel sheet to be printed, so you need to go to the page layout menu, and the first thing that you need to do is you need to select print area. So I want this selected area to be the print area. So only this area that I selected, it would be the print area. Okay, this is the print area. This is what I want. Now if I say print preview, so I'll have only this area to be printed. Now I don't have 17 pages, I have just one page. Okay, and here too we can do different things. If you go to page setup, okay, so you can select different things. For example, paper size, you can specify that there as well. uh, Here you can say page size is not letter but A4, and we want the data to appear in portrait size, and the margins are normal, that is fine. Okay, then we want to uh, say look at it again. Okay, so this is how it looks. Okay, so you can do certain other things with it. What are those? Let's go to page setup. Right now it appears at the top left corner. So if we want it to be in the middle, horizontally or vertically, you can do that. Horizontally, if I say center on page, so horizontally it will be moved to the middle. Okay, so horizontally it has been moved to the middle. If we want, go to the margins, if we want it vertically to be in the center as well, so you can do that as well. Okay. Okay. Next is you can add header and footer. You can add page numbers and all that. So say for example, this is, let us add a footer or a header. Let us add a footer. So you have the left section for the footer, you have the right section, center section and the right section. So in the center section, say we want page numbers. Now here you have different things. This is, if you want to insert page number, you can press this button. So page number would be inserted here. Uh, Here if you want to insert date, you can insert date. If you want the page number to be like page 1 of this, or you can do that as well. Okay, let's leave it at that. And we want to insert the header, so this is basically in the center section. We want to write, this is the sine curve, the sine data for the sine curve, data for the sine curve. Okay, okay. So now you can see the footer and the header has been updated. Okay, so you can do something like that. Now say for example we want all this data to be printed. So let us do that as well. Let us set this as a print area. Let us add borders to all of it, all the borders, and let us see how would it look. Okay, so this data would fit on 8 pages. Now if you see on page 1, things are clear. We have the first column shows the angle, then radians, then sine, and then cosine. Okay, but the second page we don't have those headers. Similarly, on the third page, on the fourth page, on the fifth page, we only have numbers and we don't know what those numbers mean. You can change that. Okay, how can you change that? So go to the page layout menu. We want this row, angle, radian, sine, cosine, this row to appear on every single page. Okay, so if you want to do something like that, if you want the row heading, sorry, the column heading to appear somewhere, or the row headings to appear somewhere, you can choose that or specify that in the print titles. Okay, so go to the page layout menu and select print titles, and here you can see print titles, rows to repeat at top. Which rows do we need to repeat at top on every single page? Okay, so you can choose that. So let us specify that we want this row number 3, to repeat on every single page. Okay, and you can preview that. How would it look? So this is page number 1, angle, radians, sine, cosine, and all that. Then page number 2, page number 3, you can see the angle value changes, and the header, the the column headers, it appears on every single page. So page 4, page 5, page 6. This makes your data more easily readable in the printed form. Okay. Similarly, if you want to limit the data to fit onto certain number of pages, right now we have not changed anything about it. We said print the data as it is, adjust to 100% of the normal size. But if you want to fit it into a certain number of pages, one page wide and one page tall, like on a single page, if you want the data to fit, you can do that. Okay, so it would look very small, like it would, you would be barely able to see anything, but you can do that. Nonetheless, you can do that, and you can change it. If I want the data to fit on 4 pages, so one page wide and 4 page tall, you can do that. Okay, so now the data would be fitted on 4 pages. Okay, so you can do these things. So I hope, like, we have, again, this would need more practice. I know that. Okay, and there are other things that I cannot cover here, but these are the things that would get you started. uh, what are those things? One, you should be able to use formulas in Microsoft Excel. Okay, so we use 3 formulas: radians, sine, and cosine. If you want to know, like, what other formulas do we have, for example, we want to find the average, so you can use the average formula for finding average. You want to find the maximum value, so you can use that as well. Maximum, let's see how can we use that. So for example, using the average formula, we want to find the average of all these values. Whether that average makes sense or not doesn't matter, but I just want to show you how to use average, the formula average. How can you do that? You can go to the insert menu, you can say, sorry, yeah, you can go to the insert menu. Where is the formula? Sorry, you can go to the formulas and you can say insert function, or you can go to a particular group of functions. Okay, so for example, you can go to math and trigonometry function, and in math and trigonometry function we have, let us go find the function for finding out the average. So surely it is not by the name average. Check out mean. Mean. No, it should be there somewhere. Okay, financial. Let's try this one. Say average. AVERA. No, not math and trigonometry. All. AV. AV. Average. We have an average function. Okay. So average. Okay. Now, if you want to find out the average of function, you need to specify the numbers for which you want to find the average. So we want to specify the numbers. The numbers are these four numbers. Okay, we want to find out the average of all these numbers in this row number 4, D4 to G4. Okay, that is what we want to do. Okay, and nothing else. So this is the average of these four numbers. Now you simply copy this formula. It uses relative addresses, and the formula will be updated to fit to all the other numbers. Okay, average. If you check this one, for example, this is the average of D354 to G350. This is D354 and this is G354. Okay, so all these numbers, the average of all these numbers is this value. Okay, so because of this 350, the average is 89.23. Okay, now let us use another function, maximum. Okay, so let us insert a function. Let's find maximum. Search for max. Okay, type max and then press enter key, so it will give you max. So you want to find out the maximum value. Okay, and the maximum among which values? The maximum among these four values. Okay, and press enter. Okay, so the maximum among these values is 1. Copy this formula to all the cells below and it will find out the maximum among those cells. Understand? So this is how you can use simple formulas, and then you can use you can insert charts or create charts by selecting two vectors. Okay, and then you can use those vectors or columns or rows, and you can create a chart. You can insert that chart in the workbook, and then you can copy that chart and insert it into your Word document or report or something like that. So these are just the very basics of Microsoft Excel. So I hope you can use it. You can start using it. You should know the difference between relative addressing and absolute addressing, and why is it important or why does it matter? Where does it matter? You should know how to insert formulas. Now we cannot go through all the formulas, but I showed you how to use formulas for say 5 functions, so that should be enough. You can explore all the other functions, and you should be able to create or insert a chart into your workbook. You should be able to do that. You can insert different types of charts. You can create different types of charts. Okay, and the data does not need to be numerical. Like you can have, let us insert another sheet number 2. So you can have different types of data. For example, we want to have a bar chart of temperatures, daily temperatures maximum. Say we have Peshawar, we have Lahore. These are different cities. Okay, Lahore, Karachi, Quetta, and Islamabad. So we want to look at the daily maximum temperatures. Say in Peshawar, the daily maximum is nowadays 21 degrees Celsius. Lahore is say slightly higher, 25 degrees Celsius or 27. Similarly, Karachi is a little more on the hotter side. Quetta is on the lower side, say 15. And Islamabad is similar to Peshawar, maybe 22. Okay, so these are temperatures. Now this is different type of data, but we want to have a chart of it. So how can you do it? So select the data. The first step is to select it, then insert a chart. Go and select an appropriate chart. So it has been selected already for us. So this is a bar chart or column chart, and like you can have here, you can select it here, something like here. So column chart has been selected for you. You can go by bar chart if you want to do it this way, but column chart is fine. Okay, so these are the average, so daily maximum temperatures. So you can insert this one. So now this is different type of data. Like here we have the names of cities. It is text and these are numbers, but you can nevertheless create a chart of it. Okay. So these are daily maximum temperatures, okay, for different cities. So you can do that. So data does not necessarily need to be numbers in order for you to create a chart. You can create a chart with mixed data as well and a different type of chart. Okay, and again you can modify this thing. So you should select, you should explore these options. This should be easier for you. So this is what I had to talk about Excel. In the next lectures, we'll talk about programming and programming using Octave. Octave is something similar to MATLAB. So we'll talk about that in there. Okay. So see you then.